The Blue Line is a demarcation area that divides Lebanon from Israel and the Golan Heights. And that's monitored by the UN interim force in Lebanon that seeks to restore international peace and security. But exchanges across that line persist, with Hezbollah firing rockets at Israel in solidarity with Palestinians in Gaza, while Israeli jets have targeted southern parts of Lebanon.
In continued exchanges of fire and escalation in bellicose rhetoric from both sides, as if an all-out war was imminent. The risk for the conflict in the Middle East to widen is real and must be avoided. One rash move, one miscalculation, could trigger a catastrophe that goes far beyond the border and, frankly, beyond imagination. Let's be clear. The people of the region and the people of the world cannot afford Lebanon to become another Gaza. On both sides of the Blue Line, many lives have already been lost. Tens of thousands of people have been displaced, and homes and livelihoods have been destroyed.
Is the war continuing amid failing diplomatic efforts to secure a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas? Israel could now confront a more powerful adversary to its north. In a recent video message, Hezbollah's leader, Syed Hassan Nasrallah, warned that his fighters were not scared by threats from what he called the enemy, while Israel's Foreign Minister, Israel Katz, suggested that in the event of an all-out war, Hezbollah would be destroyed and Lebanon would be severely hit in their efforts to restore security for its residents south of the border. As the UN chief, too often ignored by warring parties, again warned that there was no military solution.
Military escalation will only guarantee more suffering, more devastation to communities in Lebanon and Israel, and more potentially catastrophic consequences for the region. It's time for reason and rationality. It's time for practical and pragmatic engagement by the parties to the diplomatic and political avenues available to them. For our part, the United Nations is actively engaging to promote peace, security and stability in line with Security Council Resolution 1701. UN peacekeepers, UNIFIL, are on the ground, working to de-escalate tensions and help prevent miscalculation in an extremely challenging environment. I deeply appreciate their service. The cessation of hostilities and progress towards a permanent ceasefire is the only durable solution.
As tens of thousands of civilians on both sides of the border have already been displaced and suffering the consequences of this growing instability.
Sparked by explosions are further devastating communities and the environment. Unexploded ordnance and remnants of war litter the landscape. And these pose additional threats to people in both Israel and Lebanon, and to United Nations and humanitarian personnel. The parties must urgently recommit to the full implementation of Security Council Resolution 1701 and immediately return to a cessation of hostilities. Civilians must be protected. Children, journalists, and medical workers should never be targeted. And displaced communities must be able to return to their homes. The world must say loudly and clearly, immediate de-escalation is not only possible, it is essential.
Guterres added that the UN fully supported diplomatic efforts to end the violence and restore stability, as it continues to push for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire in Gaza, the immediate and unconditional release of all the hostages, and a real pathway to a two-state solution. Shervin Price-Pease, SABC News, New York.